What? It's that time again? It's time for another PetaPixel podcast with my buddies, Jaron Schneider and Chris Nichols. How about that?
Hi.
Happens every week, same time.
Same bat time, same bat place.
I don't understand how schedules work, so I'm just surprised every time this happens, and it's great. Guys, we got a huge episode. Last year, Bold Predictions with Gordon Lang was a big episode, but we just had Gordon on. So we've got our friends Becca Farsace and Jeremy from PetaPixels is joining us as well. So we're going to go through our Bold Predictions for 2025 a little later in the episode, do a little news, do a little tech support, all that kind of fun stuff. But gang, before we get started, I always like to kick things off with a question. And
like
you may not know
right
this.
now. He's like prepared for your question.
Yeah. This is his least favorite part of every week. Guys, so last month, I went from a Halloween costume to doing Movember with this mustache here. It is now December at the time of recording. And I need to know, what should I do with my face now?
God,
do
what
I
is
take
that
this
thing?
off completely and attempt to regrow something from scratch? Do I leave the mustache and try and fill things in? What do you guys think I should do?
I think you should just, like, we've talked about this. You want to have the goat. You want to try the goat. I support your goat. I don't know if it will be the goat, but you should let the bottom grow in, and then you'll have your goat.
And
don't take off the mustache.
Leave the top, let the bottom grow in. That's your take.
Yeah,
okay?
because like honestly, underneath your mustache, the skin is probably blue-white. It hasn't seen vitamin D.
Maybe like 12 years since this skin here has been exposed to daylight.
Exactly. It'll look fake. It'll look weird. So yes, do that for sure. And then, or I think you should just do handlebars. I really want you to just do handlebars.
I'm not going to do that. I still would like to have a positive interaction with my wife.
I want you to have learn an Alabama accent and grow the handlebars. That's all I want in life, and you don't do it for me.
I find it fascinating that your mustache, Jordan, grows sideways with nothing in the middle. Like it definitely
there's this weird gap here. But if you're just listening, there's a weird gap right in the middle of my
Chris's grows like a broom. So it goes straight over his mouth. If he closes his mouth just right, his lips disappear.
Yeah, he looks like a Muppet.
That's because I identify as Toshiro Mifune, and we were the same height, and he could grow a beard. It's great. He's my favorite Japanese dude.
To answer your question, Jordan, I actually think you should just keep the mustache. I don't think any other facial hair is necessary.
What?
I think it looks good. It makes you look younger. I think there are very few photography content creators that rock just a mustache. It's just your thing. So I think you should keep it. I don't think you should do.
I just want to apologize to the viewing and listening audience. We're gonna have to cancel the podcast. We have to get Jaron to the hospital. Something's very wrong. I think
I like it.
There's like a clot or something.
I know I'm not alone.
I'm gonna call your wife. She needs to tell you to stop.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So I'm engagement baiting. Let me know what you think should happen.
Dear God,
to my
do not
face
just do the mustache.
in the comments below. And very quickly, I just want to thank everyone for the support in Movember. I hit my $1,000 goal, and big thanks to some people in the YouTube community as well, like Chelsea Northrup, Jared Polan, Jim Fisher. A lot of people stepped up there, so big thanks to everyone who donated.
What about like a musketeer, like a really thin pencil-y one?
I don't think I could do that, because if you do that and then I've got this gap here, it's going to look
We'd have to
weird.
groom it. No, that'd be perfect. You have the gap in the middle and two little...
What about the one that just goes right above the lip, but under the nose?
John Waters.
I'm not doing a Hitler, Jaron.
No, do it John Waters.
Oh my God.
Oh, no.
And let's talk about something other than facial hair. We are always happy to have OM Systems sponsor the podcast. And again, fantastic deal right now because it is the holiday season. If you're a wildlife or birding photographer and you love BILF, maybe you're a BILF hunter, you know the magic of capturing rare encounters from afar. To bring your vision to life, OM System has curated the ultimate telephoto kit. This is going to be like a turnkey, all-in-one ultimate package for wildlife and birding. So this is what you get. OM1 Mark II camera body, updated autofocus, fantastic. You're going to save $500 on that high-performance camera built for challenging environments, very rugged, good autofocus, sealed to the max. You're also going to get the M Zuiko Digital ED 150-600 f5.0-6.3. It is a beast, but it gives you tremendous 1,200 millimeter full frame equivalent reach. It's fantastic.
So many millimeters.
It's so many millimeters. You'll save $700 on this big game lens. Incredible sharpness, very good stabilization. You'll like it. You also then get the MC22 times teleconverter. We are getting into flat earther territory, how good this lens is. Okay, so fantastic reach, super telephoto. That'll give you an incredible 2,400 millimeters, which we all know is the best millimeters, bringing even the most distant subjects into stunning detail. And on top of that, you'll also get the HLD-10 Battery Grip. So not only does this give you extra battery life, it gives you a vertical grip, which some people other than me really enjoy, but also most importantly, it will balance everything there so that everything feels comfortable. It'll shoot all day, even in cold temperatures. This is a fantastic thing. $1,380 savings. The entire kit is just $4499.96. Normally it's like north of $5,800. So this is a huge savings, and you just get everything. You don't have to piece accessories together. It's all there. So whether you're capturing the soaring elegance of BILFs or the intricate details of wildlife, this gear is engineered to transform your photography experience. Plus, that ED 150-600 lens is more than a telephoto. It's also a macro. I'm not going to say powerhouse. You can't make me do it, guys. I'm not doing it. I don't know why you put this in the ad copy every time. What stupid word. But it's weather sealed. It's customizable. You can do great macro with it, especially with that teleconverter. So don't miss out. This offer ends January 5th. You got to get on this. Discover more at explore.omsystem.com/petapixel or your favorite OM System authorized retailer.
Thank you, Chris, for that expertly read ad read. Let's move on to the news stories. First one up is kind of just like a call out. We need your opinions. They're being sourced. This year, we're in our PetaPixel Awards. We're doing a People's Choice Award for Camera of the Year. We're still going to do our regular Camera of the Year, which is voted on by the PetaPixel editorial staff and these two fine gentlemen who I consider part of the editorial staff. But we want to know, what camera would you think is Camera of the Year? We have narrowed down the nominations to a decent amount. It's more than we have in our official nominations for the PetaPixel Awards, but because we think that some of them deserve to be in there because they're more affordable or ones that are more like widely appreciated, they are on the list. The ones up for your vote are the Canon EOS R1, the EOS R5 Mark II, the Nikon Z6 III, the Sony A9 III, the Sony A1 Mark II, the GFX 100S Mark II, the Leica Q343, the Fujifilm X106, the Fujifilm X-T50, the Fujifilm X-M5, the OM System OM1 Mark II, the Panasonic S9, and the Panasonic GH7. So
what a good year for cameras.
Yeah, this isn't even all of them. These are just the ones that we narrowed the nominations down to. So yeah, head over to the link in the description below, cast your vote, and we will be publishing the results of that next week, along with the winners of the PetaPixel Awards. Next up, unless you have something you want to add.
Vote.
Yeah, vote.
Yeah.
Vote. We'll see if we agree. This is your chance to disagree with us in a meaningful way. Or maybe we'll all agree and the world will be great again.
I haven't looked at the results yet. All right. Next story is, you remember those Heralbony Nikon ZFCs?
Yeah, I believe there was pouting on the podcast so that it was Japan only, if I recall.
And Europe. And now it's not just Japan and Europe. It is spreading like a virus across the world.
Yeah, it's available in the United States. I don't know if you can get it in Canada yet. But the Heralbony ZFC cameras are coming to the United States. They will be available in late December, exclusively through the Nikon store.
Chris, do you want one?
Nikon did this before. It usually for North America goes through the US store website, which I know retailers don't love. But, Canadians, you could order it to a friend in the States and then just smuggle it across the border. Go for a road trip.
Jaron is planning to smuggle several cameras across. So you can just, transfer him a little bit of money. And then, you can get on the queue for his smuggling run in late December.
Yes.
Don't do that. We're going to bang through these because our bold predictions is so long. So the next thing is that Jordan and I actually have some opinions on this. Genki, which is a brand made by Human Things, they have a product called the SavePoint. It is a microscopically small M.2
bitty.
SSD. Yeah, it's really tiny. I don't have mine on me. It's in the other room. I don't know if you have yours nearby, Jordan. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, put it in
I
your
haven't
palm
been allowed to touch one.
so people can see it. So it's really small.
I'm going to take, the USB actually throws it a little bit.
Hold it next to your mustache. Just hold it
Here,
right
I
next to
want
It's
my
not focusing.
autofocus.
Hold it right.
Oh,
no,
the face
hold it right
detect
next
is
to your
so
mustache.
persistent.
There it is.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. There it is.
No, now it's shaded.
That's a little enclosure.
There you go. Same. Yeah, there you go. That's great.
It takes an
Thumbnail.
M.2 2230 SSD, but it's an enclosure, meaning you can put whatever SSD that fits that specification in there, whatever storage size you want. The enclosure itself is $50, which is, I think, a pretty good deal. If you buy it with their Micron-made specialty M.2, price goes up a bit. The 2 terabyte one is the one that I tested, and that one is $250 with the whole enclosure. And it tested really well. The only drives that performed better are USB 4.0. This is USB 3.2 and Thunderbolt. So it's the best performing non-Thunderbolt / USB 4 drive we've tested. It's very nice. I have full results linked in the description below if you're interested in looking at them. At the time of publication, they weren't offering it with any of the SSDs. They told me they were planning on doing so. I don't know when that's going to happen. But if you just want to get the enclosure, they're going to start shipping those in December. So it's good. I like them.
It's funny. I don't think photographers would look at this by default because it's marketed specifically as like, this is to plug into portable gaming solutions.
Yes.
Right.
What are those things, guys?
Steam
Rattle
Deck.
them up.
Steam Deck is the main one.
Yeah.
And it can
So
boot
I was
Windows.
surprised when it showed up. I'm like, I don't need this. And then I did actually do some cutting with it. It's very zippy. But one thing we should mention is for like long term where it's constantly accessing data, this thing gets smoking hot, like uncomfortably. I'm borderline concerned to use it on an airplane. Cools down very quickly, and for like non-video editing, it's totally fine. But if you're going to be constantly accessing data, just be aware.
It's the heat
That's
sink.
the trade-off to a really tiny enclosure.
I do think that proves the heatsink is working because I wasn't seeing any thermal throttling on the speed. So that thing is, the heatsink is working, but I got it so hot that it felt like touching a stove.
Yeah.
Like I did.
Do you just put it in a glass of water, submerge in a glass of water while editing?
Also not rugged.
No?
So no, that doesn't work.
What do I know?
Not that apparently. All right, next story. You guys were there when we did this interview. We talked with Nikon and asked them a little bit about their APS-C strategy.
Yes.
And they were a little coy. We asked specifically about a D500 version-ish mirrorless camera, and they didn't really answer that question, but they did say that their focus was on making entry-level APS-C lenses.
Yeah.
And since we haven't gotten a D500, take from that what you will.
Yeah, I'm going to take from it exactly what your article says, and we all knew in the room, which is they're retargeting APS-C to very
Beginner photographers, entry level.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
That being said, especially the lens is disappointing. But that being said, the Z52 is actually, when you start looking at the APS-C bodies that are available, actually quite capable. Yep. Other than the older sensor, it's actually very capable body for handling and for controls and stuff. So that was interesting. It felt like a bit more of an advanced camera, which I like because I feel like entry-level photographers often get dumbed down equipment and then there's not much room to grow. And I don't know. I mean, I personally feel you should have more control you can grow into. So I do like that, but it'd be nice to get some like fast primes and stuff. We're going to be dependent on third party.
Yeah, I just think back when the D500 was around, there wasn't Fujifilm making enthusiast targeted APS-C stuff. So there was more room for that.
I just remember loving that camera so much. It's hard for me to move on because the D500 was such a good experience.
It was a nice camera.
All right, last story of the week. Guys, Kodak paused all of their film production in November.
Because they're done. They're giving up on film, right, Jaron? Why would they possibly shut down production of film? I need more information. I've read the article, but I want you to say it.
Well, it's not for those reasons. It's because
temporary.
In November, the quote says, "We will be modernizing our plant, putting more investment within that, which also caused us to use more cash in the quarter to build up inventories while we do this." Essentially, they're expanding their system, updating it, and making it so they can produce film in higher capacities. And there shouldn't be any disruptions in the supply of film because they made a heck of a lot of it to make up for what they couldn't make in November. So this is all a good sign towards film doing very, very well. And I am happy.
$25 a roll of Tri-X, it better be. So yes, let's keep it going.
I'm buying mostly Ektar, and I don't even know how much that costs, but I don't even look. I can't. I close my eyes and I just give them my credit card.
Is there a film stock you're hoping that they'll bring back with the increased production capabilities?
I'm going to leave on Chris here. I'm going to.
Either of. Chris is probably the best candidate.
I have no attachment to film stocks because I didn't grow up with film, so I'm just happy when there's something to try. So I have no idea what I'm missing.
I don't know what they would expand. I mean, you could say things cool like Kodak Tech Pan would be great, but that's not going to happen. So it's like there's such specialized things. But I mean, Tri-X is still going strong. I'm happy about that. I'm glad they didn't get rid of that. I think the T-Max films, I don't know, are they still making T-Max? They don't have it at the camera store very often. But yeah, for color film, I don't know. I think actually as a brand, they're keeping most of their emulsions going, unlike some of the other brands. So I think it's fine.
Yeah,
I thought you were
making more of it.
I thought you were going to shout out some equivalent of an indie band film that no one has heard about.
Well, Tech Pan's pretty indie. Tech
Pan's a pretty deep cut. Yeah.
Tech Pans, you got to know, for those in the know, Google it. Tech Pan. Someone's got it in their freezer. They'll sell it to you for $250 a roll.
Oh, yeah. I'm just thinking because I do have some really old film here that I'm afraid to put in my cameras because I don't know how much light I'm going to have to dump into them for them to make an exposure.
Oh, dude.
Okay, well, that was it. It was a pretty quiet news week, probably because it was around American Thanksgiving and Black Friday and everything was all about things to buy, spend all your money on. So with that, we're going to move on to our bold predictions.
Let's get bold, baby.
With Becca Farsace and Jeremy Gray. But before we do that, we have a main story sponsor. Thanks to Tamron for sponsoring the bold predictions. Tamron's holiday savings are in effect. Save up to $200 on select lenses, valid through January 5th, 2025. You do not have to jump on it immediately, but you're running out of time if you do want to take advantage. Save on lenses for Sony E-mount, Nikon Z-mount, and Fujifilm X-mount mirrorless lenses. High quality, fast performance lenses designed to elevate your photography experience. They come with a 6-year warranty, and that ensures long-lasting durability. Choose from a wide selection of lenses, including versatile all-in-one zoom lenses for flexibility in various shooting scenarios, fast aperture zoom lenses for excellent low-light performance, and beautiful
35-150, 35-150.
Is that 35 to 150? That's the one you're saying fits in that category?
Oh, sorry, I almost threw up a bit. Sorry.
Oh, you don't like 30? Yeah, you don't like 35. Just move it to the 50. Is that better?
I'm okay.
All right. Ultra telephoto zoom lenses for far-reaching shots with exceptional clarity. And then some prime lenses that offer sharp detail and superior image quality. I don't know if the 90mm is on there, but it should be. And if you don't have a 90mm and you have a Sony E-mount camera, you should pick up a 90mm because it's great. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Z-mount
lens.
Yeah.
Wonderful lens.
There's also fast wide-angle zoom lenses for dynamic landscapes and architecture shots. All of these are available now, and you can save at tamron-americas.com. Link in the description below. Now let's get on, and let's get bold. And it's time for bold predictions. And for this, we're joined again by Becca Farsace and Jeremy Gray, who we haven't seen in a long time, actually.
Yeah, both of you two-timers now.
So before we get going, I have some technical things to talk about first. Jeremy could not get this Nikon utility to work right. So if he looks like he's trying to be ultra cinematic, that was not on purpose.
Put in 4:3.
And then Becca has snowplows driving by on occasion. So if you hear that, that's what that is.
Damn, the two timers are a mess. No wonder we're not invited back, Jeremy.
We do what we can.
Also, yes, Jeremy does have a legitimate microphone, but that's not working right now. So you're hearing his lovely AirPod voice. Hopefully that goes fine. Before we get into our bold predictions for 2025, part of the tradition is to go back and look at our bold predictions from last year and see how accurate we were. So as a quick recap, Here's what they were. Number 1, the prediction was the R1 will be announced in 2024 and have a global shutter. Half right. Half right.
Yeah.
The second one was Panasonic will kill the S1 and S1R lines.
Haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah,
There's no S2H. What's going on?
R.I.P.
It's undetermined is what I put. So we're 1 for 2. Number 3 is Sony's A9 III will get a firmware update to allow it to use CFE 4.0 and unlock 240 frames per second. Yeah, that didn't happen. So Sony actually has not done anything with CF Express 4.0, despite having 2 cameras that would have greatly benefited from it. Number 4 was Sony will usher in a return of the premium all-in-one compact. Nope, didn't happen. Maybe next year. Number 5, Canon and Nikon will add C2PA via firmware before the 2024 Olympics. Also wrong. Nikon announced compatibility.
So terribly.
Yeah, they did it. Canon has remained quiet on adding it to a camera, actually. We haven't seen anything from them. Nikon has it, but didn't put it in a camera in time for the Olympics, and it's still kind of in limbo. Number 6, Canon won't release another high-resolution camera, perhaps ever. So far, this is correct. The R5 II does not count. They haven't released anything more than 50 megapixels since the 5DSR, and that was a long time ago.
12 years ago, something like that.
Pentax won't release the promised 35mm camera, but it will release a vintage-inspired DSLR. Wrong on both counts. They did, in fact, release that camera, and they did not do.
Why does anyone listen to us?
Our predictions
Why are you
terrible.
listening to this show?
Number 8, Sigma's full-frame Foveon is coming in 2024, or not at all. I'm going to go with correct somewhat. We didn't get it, but I'm going to loop back to this one during 2025 predictions. Number 9, Sony and Canon will continue to release vlogging cameras despite DJI clearly having won that segment. Correct mostly. Canon actually, for some reason, didn't do anything. Maybe they learned from that disaster that was the V10. But Sony brought out the ZV-E10 too, so they still think it's a thing. They should stop. And finally...
V10 here.
Yeah, there it is. Terrible camera.
Open that screen and then try to put how do I describe this well? The little kickstand gets stuck. Like, you can't put it back.
Yeah, that's a kickstand.
We wisely skipped that one, it sounds like, from what I've heard. But yeah.
What a silly product. The last one was DJI will release a handheld large sensor camera. Wrong. Wrong, in fact, that I am confident in saying this is never going to happen now.
We're going to argue about this.
Yeah.
Oh, are we? Great. All right. So that
Also,
was last year. What?
There's one more.
Oh.
Gordon said that it was very likely, he was very coy about making his own line of coffee. That was one of my predictions. That didn't happen either. So all around, just a terrible,
an abysmal showing on bold
I do
predictions.
think we were only correct on like 3 if you count 2 half rights.
Oh, yeah. Didn't someone say Fujifilm was going to release a full-frame camera as well? That didn't happen.
I would never have predicted that. That's a
Somebody
terrible
did.
prediction. No. Terrible prediction.
There was talk. I watched it. There was talk. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So for this year, Becca only brought 1 bold prediction. So she's going to tell us how stupid our ideas are after she tells us what her bold prediction is. Becca, you have the floor.
Wow. All right. 2025 is going to definitely be the year that digital point and shoots make a full swing comeback. I think, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like
Canon?
high end or like $100 trash compacts? Where do you think this is going to sit?
They're going to be just under $1,000. They're going to be like $800, $900. Yep. Not fixed lens. I think they're going to be zoom lenses. They're going to have those little flashes on them, and they probably won't have an EVF, which will make my heart sad. But, not everything can be an RX100.
So wait, are you talking like Sony, Nikon, Canon, Pentax?
So
all
the
the
cool
big players.
picks, the
Nikon will be
Cybershot?
Sanyo's back.
love. Nikon will be the last out of the gate, as they usually are, and theirs won't come out till 2027 when this trend has evolved into something completely different. But I think Canon, they're going to come in hot. Sony, I want to say that they're going to try to go for that like RX1R. Was that it? It was like the very expensive
the full frame.
42 megapixel full frame. I think they're going to go that route with it. And maybe we'll see like a surprise somebody. Panasonic.
what if Fujifilm brings back the fine picks? I would like that.
Just
They were
the
all
name.
dumb names, though.
They were all terrible,
dumb.
but I want
They were
them back.
terrible names.
These are great names. Easy share.
Cool Pix is a perfect name.
I'm gonna pull
it's-
age, Becca. You were too young to have lived through that age. All right, it was horrible. It was horrible.
I was there, as proven by the fact that I brought all of my point and shoot cameras.
I sold
To
those
show
to
you.
people, and I still feel bad about it to this day.
Wait, what are the ones you have there?
Okay, they're all Kodak because I'm from Rochester.
Okay.
We have. Where do I even find the name on this thing? We got this one, this red one. That's nice
Right.
and small, 8 megapixels.
Aren't they called Easy Shares? Isn't that Kodak's Easy
I
Share?
think these are all easy shares.
Easy
they have
Shares,
to be.
yeah.
Good name. It's a very good
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, there it is. This one has its name. Easy Share DX6340.
Ooh.
Sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, look at
Rolls off
look
the
at how
tongue.
big this screen is
So
on the
chonky.
back.
That looks
Just
like
a fistful of
Fujifilm
street
Find Pix I
cred.
have.
See,
And
Olympus did it
EVS.
right. Stylus. That's a good name. Stylus. I like that.
But that doesn't mean anything to me. Easy Share is like, I can
it's easy
easily
to
share
share.
this with my friends.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
the pics are cool. And the
So
cyber
cool.
shot, I'm in the future
The
and I
shots
take
are
shots.
cybernetic.
Power shots were powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
They were
Wow,
not.
thank you guys. I agree.
It's funny you mentioned Sony specifically because I deleted one of my bold predictions, which was the exact opposite, which is that they were going to bring back the RX100 and RX10 series and not the RX1. So we will see.
I mean,
I
like
would
it
love
did
that.
start. Like it did start. They came with the Deluxe 8 this year. So, you know,
Which is
That's true.
just the Deluxe 7, which is just the
Sure.
LX100, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But do people,
Which
okay,
is
so here's
really
a question,
not a Leica
Becca.
camera at all.
Here's a question, Becca. Do photographers want new modern point and shoot designs, or do they want like CCD nostalgia boxes from back in the day?
The photographers don't want this. This isn't for photographers.
Right.
This is for my mom who misses using one of these cameras. This is for Instagram and TikTok folks who just want to carry something on their wrist. And then it's for me who just wants to have fun and play with it and tell people about it.
All right.
Okay,
right.
we will see.
Yeah, that is a bold prediction. The return of the point and shoot.
Wow, it feels safe somehow. I didn't feel that bold.
Chris,
We're going to bully you.
what is your bold prediction?
My
bold
first
prediction.
one?
Yeah.
So I guess in no particular order, my first one, and that's not that bold. I think Canon's going to release a high-res version of the R1. I still don't think it's going to be over 50 megapixels, but because the emphasis is still going to be fast, and it's going to be slower than what the R1 does. But I feel like they're going to have a higher megapixel R1 flagship this year.
Interesting.
And then people will be like, "Oh, that's what we were expecting it to be." We'll see. It might
They
just
could
have the
slap
R5
the
sensor.
R5.2 sensor in there.
And it's just the
essentially.
R5 too.
Yeah, and they called it like but in an R1 body. They'll call it R1S or R1X or something.
The better
Yeah.
viewfinder and the big chunky tough body. I can
Yeah.
see that.
Becca, is this a good prediction?
It's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. And since Canon moves so slowly, I mean, they don't move really that slowly, but compared to like Sony and, the like, I would say this is an interesting prediction. I don't see it for next year, maybe the following year. How many megapixels do you think?
45. I think they would just use the same sensor.
Yes,
But
I would.
Yeah.
although that being said, if they were able to pull out the stops and come out with like a really fast stacked 50 or something, that would be great. Who knows?
They could just buy
That's
it
what they
straight
need.
finally.
That's what they need. And it'll be $10,000 US plus 2 Bitcoin. Yeah, we'll see.
That's the most accurate part of that prediction. I agree.
Okay, perfect. Great.
All right.
See?
Jeremy, what is your first bold prediction for next year?
Well, I think that Fujifilm is going to get in on the film again. Not Instax. They're going all in. I think that they could do a 35 millimeter film camera with a built-in lens. I think that the demand for it, we've seen some companies get on that train this year, but all kind of at the lower end. I mean, lower to mid end, I guess. But I think Fujifilm is in a great position to go with a really high-end option in that space.
Okay.
And going with a built-in lens that can avoid the whole full frame situation, right? They don't need to make a whole new system. They have the optical expertise to make a full frame lens, but they don't need to make a new mount. That just wouldn't make any sense.
If they do this, before Becca says if this is a good or bad idea, are they going to make their film more available if they do
I would
this?
hope so. I would really desperately hope so. And I think that they are making moves in that direction. We've seen them kind of retool a few of their existing film stocks in the last few years to deal with supply issues, new environmental regulations. So they've shown a willingness to kind of invest in R&D on new and revised film. And that was a few years ago now. Obviously, film is in a renaissance period of sorts. There's money to be made here, and Fujifilm, like every company, loves making it. So, so if they can make more film, they'll sell more film.
Yeah, true.
Becca, is this going to happen?
Jeremy, I love you, especially in CinemaScope, but I think we are a few years out from this because I don't think their film business, their 35 business is, or 120, is where they want it to be yet to sell this camera. I could see this happening in a couple of years though, when that is more robust and they like introduce a new film stock alongside this camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'd be like, here's our new 35mm camera. You can put Kodak in it because they're the only ones still producing film at quantities.
It's a good point. It's something that the other manufacturers, I mean, Canon could release a 35mm. They don't care whose film goes in it, FOMO, whatever. They don't care. But yeah, Fujifilm has that pride. You're right, that they'd have to get over or do something about. I want Neopan. This is not a prediction because it will never happen. But Neopan 400 has to come back, but it'll never happen. So that's why I don't touch film anywhere. I hate it. I'm jaded now because of that.
Oh, man, I love film.
Me too. All
right, Jordan, what is your first bold prediction?
I think Nikon is going to release the Z5 II. The Z5 was a great little entry-level full-frame camera, kind of competes with Canon's RP, but is way better in pretty much every way. So what I think it would be very straightforward for them to just take the Z6 II sensor, that 24-megapixel. It's been around. I bet it's super cheap right now. Slap that thing in there with the Z6 III autofocus algorithms and scaled video support way back. That would be my guess. Kind of keep it at that $1,200 to $1,500 range, and they could totally clean up that side of the market right now because there's not a lot of competition, and Canon's cameras in that range are bad. So that is my prediction. It's not super bold, but it's medium bold.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like a safe prediction.
Safe.
They're due for that.
Safe, unexciting.
Well, I'll continue the trend of safe and unexciting. Oh, wait.
One more question though for Jordan. What kit lens are they going to put with it?
Oh, they're going to put that weird 24-60, I want to say, that was released with the original Z5 that everyone has forgotten exists. And I think it was decent optically, if I remember correctly. Again, Z5 was a while ago. But yeah, I don't think they're going to bring out a new kit lens for that thing.
Are they going to go with the same, like, very low price point, which has been working for them so far?
I think they have to, yeah. And the big thing, if you recall, like that had a really nice EVF on it and a nice display as well. So that would really set them apart from everything else in that range. You know, like we were just talking, anything with an EVF is that crummy 2.36 million dot. So something that feels good in your hand, has a full frame sensor at a good price. I think that would do really well.
You think, given the amount of time since the Z5, oh God, it's rubbing off on me, you guys. Since the Z5,
He said Zed.
Yes.
No, Jeremy, no.
I'm falling to the dark side. Do you think that
Close to the
Nikon
border.
That's true. Do you think Nikon would position it differently, considering how the market has sort of shifted since the Z5 came out, or
I'm worried
still the same?
I'm worried they'd move it up market because they've been doing that a lot lately. Like the Z6 III went up, and then the Z8 and everything. So I would hope they keep it again that 12 to 15. But yeah, I could see them making like a $1,500 to $1,800 camera, which would
still
be
kind of like at the photographer.
Yeah, it would still do
than
well.
a hybrid.
But there's a lot of competition in that range. Down market a bit, everything is pretty rough.
I feel like they'd work pretty hard to keep it like 1,400 and under though.
That'd be great.
Because I feel like they'd go aggressive pricing, still trying to capture more audience.
Yeah, they need that market share.
Speaking of companies that need market share, and it's not a particularly bold prediction. It feels safe. But Becca, I think that OM System will release a new camera in the 5 range. So it'll be what was the Olympus EM5 Mark IV, but it would be the OM System OM5 Mark II. And I think we're going to get that as the first truly new Olympus now OM System product since that whole transition. Like, everything else has been sort of just kind of like either cobbled together or slightly upgraded or built by somebody else since that transition. I think this is what they've been working on as a company for a while.
Will it have a USB-C port in it? That's what I'm excited to find out.
Do they not do that right now?
It's still like a USB micro on the
there's no
OM5.
way. It would have to be USB-C, yes.
But I have 10 of those cables sitting in my house right now. I need use for them.
Yeah, but on the other side is USB-A, and we just need to move along. I know so little about. I always call them the OM systems when I read it. I know so little about these systems, so I'm going to say, sure, that sounds right. But when was the last time they put something out?
So a brand new product from OM System, or
Yes.
one that was reconfigured because they used to be Olympus?
Yeah.
Have they not put out a brand new system yet?
They did, but we believe it was a holdover from when they were still Olympus. So the OM1 and the OM1 Mark II were Olympus products that OM System released.
But they were novel.
Correct. They were good, but OM
good.
System as a standalone company, we don't think has produced anything. It's all carryover.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You'd carry it
And then
over
the
too. That sounds easy.
Yeah, the OM10 was basically just the same Olympus 10, EM10. So yeah.
Okay, when were all of these?
Well, the OM5
couple years.
was like right after they became their own company.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
But the Olympus version came out in 2019.
So they're due, but they could be in like production delay because they're, quote unquote new, even though it seems like
Or they
they're
just
not
are going to
that,
re-release an old camera. So the big thing is Jaron is saying it's going to be a new camera, not a rebrand of the old Olympus camera.
Correct.
So, which I'm
and
skeptical
it will be
about.
a film point and shoot.
No, it will not, unfortunately.
It'll be digital.
And we're not going to get a pen either. I don't think we'll, at least not in the first half of the year, I don't think we're going to get a new pen.
Well, that's interesting. Shall I go into mine? Because that kind of carries off.
Sure.
So I just very quickly, one of my predictions was that Sony will release the RX1 replacement. I think we were talking about that, so we'll just let that sit. But I think OM System will release the pen this year because I think a lot of people, hopefully they'll realize this is a market that's untapped. But largely, again, I think it's going to be a re-release. I think consumers are going to be like, meh, it's just going to be like a re-release of one of their EPL 5s or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But I hope.
Just put the OM1 guts in the pen body. It would be an amazing camera. Everyone would buy it. It would be huge.
Won't do that.
It would be
Won't
great.
do that. No, they won't do that. No, they won't do that. But
How much do you think it'll cost?
it'll probably be actually, you know what, with OM System, it might not be that bad, honestly. But if they're just going to rebrand one of the old pens and make it an OM pen, then they can keep the cost down, but it's not going to be a new camera. It's going to be a rebrand.
So what's the cost down? What is that best case scenario?
I don't know. I think it's still going to be $1,200 or something like that.
With a lens?
Yeah.
So with a lens, $1,200. Without a lens,
$1,300, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But I still think people would like it. I think it would get some stir. Either they or Panasonic have to do it first.
What do you think, Becca?
Sure, but what are they going to do that's special? Like, yes, the pen has like legacy, but you don't think they're going to try to do something like make it fun colors or something? I don't know. Like, how are they going to capture?
OM System, no fun colors. I don't think so. No, I think you know what? I think they can make it look really classy, really stylish, which is a big plus. And I think it's going to have interchangeable lenses, which is nice. Micro Four Thirds. That's what it's perfect for. Is you can get really compact zooms that are nice, but still feel like a point and shoot on your wrist as opposed to a system. And that's what I think they've got a market. I think they're going to do it, or they should do it.
All right, I can see it. Yeah, sounds like they're due for something.
Jeremy, what's next?
I believe that the A7R6 is going to be announced next year. Next year.
2025, yeah.
Yes. It might not be like available at that point. That's kind of the way Sony's rolling these days with their late year announcements. But I think we're finally going to see that big IQ resolution bump people have been kind of hoping for a long time now. The A7R4 guts are still in the A7R5. Getting a little long in the tooth. Still an amazing camera, image quality wise, but the sensor
Yes, it is
slow. That's putting it nicely. I think we're going to finally hit that 80 megapixel mark.
80.
Holy
80.
cow.
Make a big jump. I mean, why make a small jump? It doesn't make any sense, right? You're already at
These are
61.
bold
You got to go
predictions.
big.
Yeah, that's bold.
So here's my thought on that is there is a Sony produced Fujifilm sensor that's APS-C and 40 megapixels. If you just use that same wafer to a full frame size, you'd have a 90 megapixel full frame camera. So I think that's something that they actually already have the technology to do. And we love that Fujifilm 40 megapixel sensor. So make a full frame version of it. Everything's lined up, ready to go. That body design is great. So it wouldn't actually be that much of a push to do that.
But it still won't
Check my
scan that
math here.
fast.
Yeah, it's a slow scanning sensor.
It won't scan that fast, so we're not going to get the faster improvements. It's still, I think, going to be like very much a slow landscape portrait studio kind of camera.
Would you complain that?
Because you love your A7R5, Chris. Would you be pumped for a 90 megapixel version or an 80?
I wouldn't. Like, I get it. We've been talking about like getting to the 100 megapixel full frame. Like, that's kind of been in the industry, and people have been like chatting about it and like, well, who's going to do it first? And it feels almost like more of like we do it because we can do it, but not because we should or need to. Yeah. Like 60 megapixels is tons of detail. There's a lot of people, I'm sure you get comments too, Becca, where people are like, oh, like 20 megapixels was all I needed in my day, and anybody who needs more is a bad photographer. But like, there are substantial benefits to having higher megapixels. Yeah, Jared knows. But 60, I think, is a good sweet spot. It's rare that I feel I need more detail than that. I get the 100 megapixels for medium format. That's great. That makes sense. Although again, I don't really often need that resolution or use it. So great, do it. That's what humans do. We always push farther than we need to. But I personally don't think it's going to be that big a benefit for me or most people.
Can we talk to those commenters real quick? I think you did talk to them over the weekend, but I saw that. But but talk to them. Why would somebody need 90 megapixels in a full frame body?
Insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are like the main benefits to higher megapixels are going to be the ability to print larger or to crop. And then people get into, well, but if you print large, it's not like you're going to stick your nose up to the print, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, oh, that's just for billboards. Yeah, like I get it. But still, it does make an appreciable difference, whether you care or your uncle cares or whoever else cares. It doesn't matter. There is an appreciable difference to printing larger with more megapixels. And why not? If you have it, why not use it? Doesn't mean you can't do it 24, but if you have it, if I had my choice to do a large wall print and I had the option to use both cameras, I'd use the higher megapixel camera. And then, of course, the ability to crop tighter and still maintain a certain level of detail. Although, again, assuming that everything else is good, like your technique was good and things are sharp and stuff, there's no point in having extra megapixels if things are blurry. That doesn't do any good. But yeah, in the right conditions, art reproduction, studio work, large print, landscape, yeah, obviously there's some benefit to having more megapixels.
Yeah, I don't know if this is all in my head too, but just like the feeling, like the tone, the texture of like an image that's been shot with like a lot of megapixels, like it just feels completely different to me. And I think maybe the same could be said of like shooting 24 and 30, which I actually has a huge difference in my eye, but similar vibe for me. It just has a different feeling and a different tone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we move on, I do have one comment to make on this 90 megapixel thing. I don't think Sony will do it if they can't somehow shoehorn in the fast autofocus, the fast tracking. And if this sensor is really slow, I don't know, will it be able to do all of that?
I think Sony's autofocus is still really good. Like, I have no complaints on the A7R5.
You know they're going to make some sort of video where some dude shoots a bird in flight with it, and I'm just wondering if it's going to be able to handle that.
Again, in my opinion, and again, I'm not trying to tout the A7R5. It's just from a shooting standpoint, the autofocus of the real-time tracking, even on that generation of camera, it's been fine. What it doesn't have is fast burst rates or the ability to sustain a long buffer.
Okay. And I think that's probably okay if it's not there in a 90.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to shoot at 25 frames per second at 90
But I've always found the
megapixels.
autofocus to be quite consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. But will that be enough for Sony, who's like, the last year or two has based everything off of like speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be weird to see without it.
I mean, is it going to have the body? Are they just going to use the A9 III body now going forward for everything?
Yes.
I hope so.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, what's
right.
your next bold prediction?
Jeremy or Jordan?
Prediction.
I've got Jeremy.
That was
next.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
No, it's Jordan next.
No, it's Jeremy.
Jeremy
just
just did
Oh,
Jeremy
the
just
Sony,
went.
the high-res Sony.
Oh, is that you? I'm sorry, I lost track. I thought that was Chris.
I'm
who talked so
excited
much.
to go because we've touched on this in the podcast. So there's been a preview to this bold prediction, but I still think it is quite bold. I think Apple is going to bring out its first Pro application in a very long time. It'll be a photo package that's aimed right in between kind of Lightroom and Photoshop. Just like what they've done with Final Cut, where it's more for like, enthusiasts and creators. I think they're going to do the same thing here with photography, not directly trying to compete with Adobe at Photoshop, but a nice flexible package. They've already picked up Pixelmator, which is a great first step to that. That is definitely where their software is headed. And I think they're really kicking themselves for canceling Aperture all those years ago, because now they have a pro app for basically everything except photography. And they're going to try and rectify that. That is my prediction.
Yeah. Like double the amount of photographic styles, similar look and feel to those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you think, Becca? Possible?
Yes, very possible.
Yeah.
Very, very possible. Yeah.
I think that'd be a smart move.
I mean, obviously they'll probably put it out alongside what device? Probably a Mac Pro something or other.
Next iPhone is also a possibility.
Yeah.
Edit your photos.
It could just be a WWDC drop too. I could see them doing
True.
that.
Yeah.
That would work
Yeah.
really well. Then it could be everything.
Yeah.
Are they going to bring back the Aperture title, or are they going to use like a synonymous word like sphincter or something like that?
That's not.
I don't think it's going to be that one specifically. I mean, their marketing team is pretty good, Chris.
Bro,
I don't think they'd fall
ended
into
on
that
sphincter.
particular trap. I don't think they're going to keep the Aperture name. I would love to, like I've said before, I would cheer if they said Aperture's back. But no, I think they'll come up with a new name for it, would be my guess.
I just came up with one. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I disagree. I think they will use Aperture. I think Apple has been on a tear of like touching the nostalgia in the back of your mind with a lot of their designs and a lot of the stuff that they're doing. I think they will do it again. They'll reach back there and they'll tickle it. And you'll be like,
Do we think it's going to be subscription or one pay?
Yes, of
one-time
course.
pay?
Yeah, subscription.
It's tough to say because Final Cut's not, but Final Cut
Yeah.
Camera is.
Yeah.
Yes. It depends
Final
on what
Cut-
it's for. Like if it's mainly on device, like on like a computer, I think you could just buy it out. But I don't know. That'd be so weird in 2025. Everybody's subscription.
Yeah.
Well, they
It
didn't
would
do it
be
on
a
Final
large
Cut.
middle finger
Okay.
to Adobe.
I think
Yeah,
it's
but Final
great
Cut's
that
like
they didn't do it
legacy.
on Final Cut. I think it's wonderful that they didn't do it on Final Cut, but I think that they don't do it on Final Cut because there's so much competition in that field, and professionals are using Resolve and they're using Premiere and they're using Avid, and it's like, I feel like Apple Final Cut users have kind of slipped as far as the professional market goes, and if they switch to a subscription service, I think they'd see a whole bunch of people just say, sphincter that, I'm off onto something
argument
else.
can be said then of a photo application because people are entrenched and they would look for a way to not have to pay a subscription.
Yeah.
That's true.
If you've got people entrenched, that's exactly when you do a subscription.
No, and other in like Photoshop and the like.
Agree to disagree. I'm going to go. So last year, I said that if we didn't get the Foveon this year, and I said that in the end of 2023, we would never get a Sigma Foveon camera. After speaking to Kazuto-san in Japan in February and hearing why we didn't get it yet, I have changed my thoughts. At that point, like last February, I'm like, oh, okay, this actually is going to happen, I think. It isn't going to happen in 2024. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, I can't do it in 2024. But I think we're getting it this year. I think in 2025, we will see it. I don't think any of us will be that impressed with it, but I think that it will finally come. The full-frame Foveon camera will finally be here. It will not be comfortable for Chris to hold, but it will exist.
We'll see.
And we'll get it.
I mean,
Any thoughts, Becca?
This is another system that I have used so little of.
Oh, yeah.
But
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, Jeremy.
That's what it
I
sounds
didn't mean to
like.
cut you off.
no, that's good.
Jeremy, please.
Am I right?
I definitely think you're right. Which I guess undercuts the boldness to some extent.
When you
But
say
that's okay.
definitely?
It's
Without a
certainly
doubt.
coming.
Yeah.
It will undoubtedly arrive.
What? You guys
think
have
it
some
kinda-
insider information.
No, none.
The way that I'm looking at it here is that Sigma has had so many opportunities where they could have bowed out of this project with no real negative consequence, and they didn't take any of them.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that, to me, that signals either just an insistence to make this happen at any cost, or the research and development that they've been restarting, finally is working.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be very surprised if this doesn't happen at this point.
Chris, what did you hate about this so much?
I don't. Oh, well, the camera designs themselves, Becca, are physically impossible to hold with human hands. You need to have some sort of
I'm looking
extra.
at it. They look very clean.
Well, I don't know, that Quattro, it's it's a weird one. There's the older ones like the DPs and stuff, the Merrills, they were great. They were just boxes. I wouldn't say they were comfortable to hold, but you could hold them. But weird designs, like Sigma's camera design has been really off. I mean, they made DSLRs where instead of putting shutter speeds, they just had it say slow or faster, like as you turn, like just weird choices.
That's an interesting
There's
choice.
always a bizarre,
Just bizarre.
there's a bizarre twist
Yeah.
to every one of these things. Like, the Merrills, you could only shoot 30 pictures to a battery. Then
For
they
the battery
followed
died,
up
yeah.
with Quattro, good battery
What?
life. You can't.
I know, it's
hold-
like film. Now it would be cool, but back then
Worse
it
than
was
film.
not cool. It
Foveon
was not
sensors
cool at all.
use a ton of power.
They do. I feel like Foveon is, it's not that I hate it. I think it's a technology that it's very interesting. It's very easy to love. I think from an engineering standpoint, it's very cool. It's very exciting, multiple layers, kind of like film. And it's just an interesting idea. But then when you look at the practicality of it, it's just not a technology that should exist. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. If they did re-release it, I feel like Sigma would have to make a body that's really nice, really upscale, not bizarre, not weird. Like they'd have to pull out the design stops and make something. Like their cameras have always just been black bricks made of plastic. And so I feel if they made something really beautiful and then kind of went the route that Leica goes, make this very niche product that has a very strange sensor that you can then magically tell people will have some cool quality that no other system has, and then you throw some fantastic Sigma glass in front of it, that I think would work. But as far as a mainstream product, no. Bayer sensors are just too good and too cheap and too fast scanning and have too many benefits to make Foveon worth it. So either really luxurious niche weirdo camera or no, not at all.
Well, by
Or
weirdo
cheap
camera, I hope
plastic point and shoot.
they're not going to make it a oh my god! If they made a full, because the thing is, it has to be full frame. That's like the whole thing
Yeah.
they've been pushing. So a full frame point and shoot would be a choice from Sigma.
It's niche.
Yeah. And it's still going to be slow. It's going to be it's going to be like a walk around rangefinder style kind of experience, not a sports camera, not anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Foveon's just so technologically difficult to work with. It will definitely be slow, and you're absolutely right. It's going to be a niche camera, so it would be great if they just kind of leaned into that heavily with the design and the user experience.
But make it holdable, please.
Yes, please.
But again, also you'll have to use specific software. None of the main software companies are gonna support that, or if they do, it's gonna be grudgingly, right? And it's probably gonna be bad results.
Well, They did bring out a firmware update for the older Quattros.
They
to
did.
shoot the Foveon
Grudgingly.
and DNGs. So they seem to have already cracked the code on that. But I mean, that's one very small roadblock. They got a lot more. they've got to sort of.
Okay, I'm going to say this is a bad idea,
Yes.
and it shouldn't happen.
But will it happen? Am I right?
I don't know. That seems like a really big risk, and it sounds like nobody has anything good to say about it. So,
Becca, the only reason that we have this is because Kazuda-san, the CEO, is afraid his father will haunt him if he doesn't make a camera division.
Because his father
that
started
changes
the
everything.
camera. Yeah.
So he's gonna do it.
Yep, that literally changes everything. I too would do it if I was going to be haunted. So, you know what? In fact, this is a great prediction for this man alone.
All right, we're going to do one final run through. Each of us got one more. So,
I am.
Chris, what is your last bold prediction?
My last, I've got two more, but okay. Which one?
Pick one of those two.
Okay. Oh, I don't think Panasonic's going to actually make a Micro Four Third compact camera. That's what I want to happen. What my bold? Let's go with something bold. Fujifilm's going to make a big push this 2025 for faster scanning sensors in the GFX range. So I think we might see it'll be lower, 50 megapixels, but it'll actually be like faster scanning, usable for their autofocus is getting better, but also more usable for cinema, where the 50 megapixel at least makes a bit more sense, especially if it's faster scanning.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's solely up to Sony, basically, as to whether or not that happens, right? It's not up to Fujifilm, but if they release it, it would make so much sense. I just don't think that 100 megapixel sensor makes any sense for video work.
Fujifilm has the money to convince Sony Semiconductor to do this.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Sony's making tons of money
very
off of it.
well.
Yeah. Okay. Jeremy, I know you have two as well, but pick one of them.
Well, like 1.5. I can kind of shoehorn one of them into what Chris just said.
Sure.
I'll shoehorn. I was originally going to say that I don't think the GFX Eterna will be the only medium format cinema camera next year. And now I'm thinking maybe that's because they'll make two. And one of them will be a 100 megapixel one like they've already talked about.
Yep.
And then one of them could use this lower resolution, faster sensor you're talking about.
There we go.
All right. Those are successfully shoehorned.
Yeah.
All right. And your last one?
So my standalone, unrelated one is I think that Nikon is going to release its third special Nikkor Z lens to join the Noct, the 58 f.95. What a beauty. Never seen one in real life.
It's silly.
What a beauty, so you've heard.
It's heavy.
Oh, yeah. I assume beautiful. And the Plena, the 135-1.8, I don't know why that has its own name, but I like that it does.
Because it's good,
cool.
Jeremy,
It's a good lens.
and it makes me happy. So it deserves a special name.
but it's a good lens.
So I think that they're going to get a third one out this year or next year, 2025.
Yeah.
Same kind of idea as the Plena. I think it's just going to be a really high quality lens, not knocked territory, but getting there.
Ooh.
I'm hoping for a fast wide angle prime.
Be specific.
24, 1.4.
A 24-1.4 sounds great.
28-1.2.
I think they'd be more ambitious than that. I think it'll be like an 18-1.4 or something.
No.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Maybe a 20. You know what? I'm going to say.
It'll be a 35 mil 0.95. That's what it's going to be.
No,
I would love
Manual
it.
focus only.
I would love it.
No, because I think that they're going to make something. I think the fancy name, I don't have the ingenuity to come up with anything quite like Plena. But I think it's going to be astrophotography focused.
Well, they'll call it a Luna for sure.
There it is.
Nice. That's
It's
actually
already
pretty
done.
good.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. I think that they're kind of missing super fast wide primes right now, and it's an area where the F-mount really excelled. It's one of the few areas of weakness I think that there is in the Nikkor Z lineup right now.
Yep.
Nikon loves something fancy.
Okay, they're going to surprise us all and re-release that super fisheye giant lens.
The 7 mil? It's back.
Yeah.
We saw that at the Nikon Museum. They have one. It's absurd.
Yeah.
They should not do that. If you get anywhere near it, you'll scratch it.
3 people will be very
That's okay.
happy. Yeah.
I'm one of those 3.
And there you go. Becca and 2 other people.
Becca,
I won't be able to
before
afford it. I'll get it on loan for 5 days, and I'll, actually realize that it's way too heavy and way too big, and I'll break it, and then I'll never get anything on loan again.
Yeah. That's everyone, I think. Before we get Jordan's last bold prediction, do you think Jeremy's is valid?
100%.
Okay.
I agree. It's definitely something that's missing in their lineup. It's going to be heavy. But yeah, people will eat that up. 100%. And I can't wait for the one-off name. Luna was great.
Jordan?
Speaking of heavy, so instead of a announcement of a new camera, I think Sigma is going to announce that they are being allowed to make full frame lenses for Canon RF mount. And we will all cheer, and suddenly RF cameras will be much more viable, and it'll be a wonderful, magical, beautiful day. That is my
I sure hope so.
I also hope so.
But do you think it will happen? Not that you hope it will happen. Will it happen?
It's like got to. We're like so due for this. I really hope so. For Canon's sake, I hope so, honestly.
They can't, every time we talk about a Canon camera, all of the comments are just like, yeah, but I would never buy one if I can't put Sigmas and Tamrons on it. At a certain point, there's going to be a tipping point where they just can't deal with this bad. And they did their like, look, we're open to third-party lenses now for our APS cameras that everyone's indifferent to just try and get rid of some of that bad press a little bit, I think. But it's time to do it for real skis, and real skis means full-frame Canon.
Yeah, or is it just going to be like the Magic Mouse and forever have the port on the bottom, aka never take third-party lenses?
It will be the Canon RF is the Magic Mouse. I think that's a fantastic. I love the Magic Mouse. I like Canon cameras, but I just deal with the bad stuff. All right, my last prediction is that Pentax will announce that they're making another film camera. We won't get much information about it. It'll be under development, but it will not arrive until 2026.
Yep.
DSLR, or not D.
No.
Skip the D.
No.
Maybe SLR.
SLR, yeah, no
SLR.
DSLR, yeah. Yeah, you think so, Becca? You agree?
I was actually thinking about this last night as I was falling asleep. This is very funny. 100%. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. They will announce it. They will tease it. They will give it to like one person that no one's ever heard of, and we'll read a quote from an anonymous person that's touched it. And yes, I agree.
It doesn't take them very long to make this. I was kind of surprised how quickly the 17 came out from the development announcement. I think it'll take about a year, and they'll do it. Yeah.
I think
they're already working on it for sure.
I still think it should be a DSLR, though. We said this last year.
Yeah.
I want to carry that prediction over. That would be far more important, I think.
If we can use Pentax's current lenses for digital on this thing, I think that would be huge.
It's got to be a K-mount, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really neat. I would shoot the heck out of that camera. The heck out of it.
Interchangeable lenses sort of vibe.
Yeah. Just keep them out.
We talked about this last year about our prediction. It didn't happen, and I still don't think it's going to happen. But like a digital K1000 or a digital ME Super, I think would be killer.
You think it's going to be a fixed lens?
Yeah, 100%. Just because like the Ricoh, joining of lines.
You're right, Becca.
I mean, that's where they live, and that's where they succeed, and that's like their sharpness in that space is what they're known for. Why would they start something new?
Well, I mean, they did a Pentax 17, so it would make sense they do like a Pentax 35 or 34, whatever you want to say. And then it's like the full frame version of that camera, right? Still easy to use, some control, but not over the top. Yeah, but giving you that large 35 mil negative.
So you're saying someday we'll get a Pentax 120?
No.
Oh.
Imagine a rebirth of the 6.7. That would be pretty sweet.
That would be amazing. See, I just think they're already making most of the components to make a film SLR right now. Like their DSLRs are still using, a focal plane shutter. They have an optical viewfinder. And then they've got all the new film elements that they're using with the 17. It just seems to me like that would be the easiest way to not spend a lot of money and put something out.
You know what? I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to make a fixed lens like the 17. Yeah.
Yep.
But full frame.
I would be fine with anything. I just like new film stuff
me too. But that's where they're seeing their success. So like, why would they start? Yeah. I think they're just going to keep barreling down that direction.
Yeah.
All right.
Jordan, I also like your last prediction, Jordan, that Adobe will find a way to make photographers angry.
Yeah. That's a brand new way. That no one has ever thought of. It's not going to be something like raise price. It's some innovative way to really make photographers
just to really
angry.
piss people off, right?
Yeah.
That's
not
not
a real
100% will
prediction.
happen. Yeah.
Not a real.
It's actually
prediction.
guaranteed.
All right, that's going to do it for bold predictions. If you have any bold predictions of your own that you'd like us to think about and respond to, we'd like to respond to those comments. So leave those in the comment section below. And thank you, Becca, for joining us. Jeremy, for bringing your bold, thinky thoughts to us. And thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Anything to plug, Becca?
Fun.
Yeah, do you have anything to plug?
Your channel's doing great.
Yeah,
Go see
channel's
Becca's
doing really
channel.
well. Yeah, go check out my channel. I have a lot coming to Patreon in December, some exclusive stuff there. But yeah, youtube.com/Becca Farsace. Just, drop me a comment, say hello. That's all.
Thanks, Becca.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Super fun.
Thanks again to Becca and Jeremy for joining us for some bold predictions. Those are always fun. Let us know again in the description below, or not description, below, the comments below. I'll write in the description. You write in the comments. If you think we're on base, off base, or if you've got something you think we should have said, but with that behind us.
We did badly. We did badly last year.
We're not good.
I don't know. What's 2025 going to be like? I think there was some in there that are going to last. But
I think we were a little safer this year. Yeah.
We got too bold in 2023.
I think it was too bold.
Too bold.
Yeah.
Let's move on to tech support, a section that is in dire need of our attention. I just want to point out before we get into this, I have a folder in my emails of things to deal in here, and there are 35 emails in there that I have not gotten to yet, and that is not counting the ones that I've already had sitting in our Asana tasks.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions to get through, and I don't think we're going to do it by the end of the year. But
my prediction for 2025 is going to be way behind on tech comments and never read the comments. That's
not even bold. That's like an obvious.
Bold. Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on to tech support from Peter. This is an email. Hi guys, I really appreciate how helpful your podcasts and reviews are to all of us out here. I've seen Kickstarters and DIY projects for Instax film backs for old medium format cameras. I love the feel and sound of using these beasts, but getting 120 film developed is an expensive pain in the neck from where I live, rural Japan. I know it wouldn't be as good as negative film, but what kind of quality could I really get out of Instax film? I'd be digitizing it? ? As a follow-up, do any of you know how much about the impossible recreations of old Polaroid films? Would those give dramatically better results than Instax? Peter.
So Peter, I mean, I used to have a Fuji Instax. Well, no, I had a Polaroid adapter for my Hasselblad 500 CM, and you can get adapters for Fuji Instax. They don't scan great. Like, it's gonna look soft. It's gonna kind of give you might dig it, but it's not gonna have a lot of details. So I don't necessarily think that's a great look or aesthetic personally. It's fun to actually look at the print itself. I just don't know if you're going to get a good result out of actually scanning it that well. And it's fun. It's still expensive like crazy, unfortunately. I think what you're talking about is Impossible Project. So they're a company that made a Polaroid style film. And they weren't actually, I mean, this is a long time ago, but they weren't actually allowed to use the Polaroid patents or technology. So they had to come up with their own sort of novel way of doing instant film. And so the early results are really garbage and kind of cool. Nowadays, we'd call it cool. Back then, we're like, why would I do this? I'll just go get Fujifilm FP100C instead. It does a great job. And so, yeah, it's probably gotten better. It was kind of interesting, weird development time, strange color shifts. But honestly, like, I think Fujifilm FP100C is still available. I don't know. I haven't checked.
For a fortune.
Probably. That'll probably scan a little bit nicer, but it's still not an ideal situation. So do it because it's fun to do, and you get that interesting instant positive that you can play with and look at and, hold around and stick on your fridge. But I would still stick to 120 film if you're looking for actual image quality out of that camera.
Yeah, it's been a while since we looked at Impossible. It's actually branded like they're putting Polaroid on the cases now, and they've definitely changed the formulation.
So they probably have.
So it's worth checking in. I just don't we're basing this on outdated information.
But still don't scan it.
The new stuff.
It's not going to scan that well.
All right, the next one is a speak pipe from JT Tran.
Hot take. Do you think there will be a vertical-based sensor and camera? When you think about half frame, it's basically vertical framing. Will a camera out there in the future be entirely vertical, considering that content is moving that direction?
I don't know. I mean, certainly in the vlogging world, for sure. Obviously, smartphones are the most ubiquitous vertical shooting camera in the world. I would love it because I love shooting vertical, don't I, Jordan?
You do. You adore shooting vertical. And that's the big thing, is it's not that difficult to flip your camera sideways. I certainly think it's going to be more video-centric, where, yeah, it is a real pain if you're attaching a bunch of stuff to your camera to then flip it vertical. You'd have to get a special vertical cage or a solution like that. Most pan and tilt heads don't support that orientation. So I could absolutely see someone do something like a Sony ZV-10 series camera and then just flip the sensor so it sits flat like a normal camera. When you mount the lenses would be sideways, which would be kind of cute. But yeah, there's nothing holding them back technologically from doing that. And I actually think it would fill a smart niche.
I just feel like, for a half frame, it makes sense because there's actually a reason for it. You're trying to get twice as many shots on a roll,
right.
Which
the
still
half
has
frame
to be.
thing. I think you use a conventional sensor. Sorry.
Yeah. That makes sense because the film basically should go sideways. But yeah, for digital cameras, there's no reason to do it. It just doesn't suit the ergonomics of the human body and the way that their hands are. When I'm king of the world, all digital cameras will be square sensors, high megapixel, and then you can crop vertical or horizontal. So vote for me, King Chris Nichols. I will run on a platform of square sensors for everybody.
Square sensors for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very popular
Make North America square again. That's my slogan.
Okay.
Fine.
This is kind of a long one, but I'm going to read the whole thing. And it's an email from Chris Thompson, spelled the exact same way as one of my former bosses back when I was in my 20s. I don't think it's
KRIS or Thompson?
Chris, KRIS, and Thompson's the same too. Yeah. Anyway.
Thompson's my wife's maiden name.
Yeah, you could just take her name.
Yeah.
And you could also be Chris Thompson.
I want to be son of Tom.
Hi, Jaron, Jordan, and Chris. Loving the podcast and wanted to send another tech support question your way. This one is longer than my previous email, so thanks in advance for reading through it, and hopefully the tech support backlog isn't too bad for you guys. Oh, it's terrible. I've been really interested in the Sony A7CR and decided to rent it recently. During my time with it, I noticed some quirks, namely, the camera wouldn't power off with the main switch unless I had the flip-out screen also closed.
Weird.
Possibly related, I couldn't charge the camera via USB-C unless the flip-out screen was closed.
Weird.
JPEGs transferred to my phone couldn't be shared until I manually edited each one. I guess some weird thing with iCloud. Yeah. HEIFs, on the other hand, all loaded in with thumbnails and landscape orientation, even if taken in portrait. Again, resolved by manually editing and resaving each photo on my phone. All in all, I still very much enjoyed the camera and the images it created, but these experiences were definitely annoying. Not sure if I just got a bad camera or if it's an issue with recent Sony cameras. Anyway, I'm curious. With so many camera reviews that you guys do, is this something you've heard about before? Are there similar quirks and annoyances that you come across over the years? And if so, how did you decide whether to mention them in review videos? I'm looking forward to your feedback on this. The A7CR is expensive, and I'm hoping for some reassurance that I had a one-off bad experience, and this is not as systemic as I'm fearing. Thanks again for the entertainment and knowledge sharing. I look forward to you guys every week.
That sounds like whoever rented it before just used it in the bathtub or something like that. It's not normal. I mean, if there were any quirks, they've been fixed in firmware. When I used the A7CR and A7C2, I didn't notice any sort of issues. Like, it all worked really nicely. Nothing like that. So, and actually, I know a lot of creators use those cameras, and they would not tolerate that stuff. So I think you just had a bad camera, something weird. Annoying things. There's lots of annoying things. I hate when the LCD screen hits the mic jack on cameras. That always drives me crazy. Cameras not having tally lamps is really annoying. And things like the Canon, the latest aperture rings where you can't use them in photo mode and stuff. Weird quirks like that are annoying.
And we mentioned them.
Yeah, we mention them. And so, I bring it up because we do mention them and what we like and dislike. So, yes, we're always looking for those quirks. But I do not recall, it's been a while since I touched the camera, but I don't recall being annoyed by it. And those things would annoy me too. So I think it's just you had a bad camera.
The big ones for me are ones that have issues with storage. If you've used them in any other cameras, Fujifilms are notorious for this. Drives me absolutely crazy when I'm just like, I just need to grab a quick thumbnail or something like that, put a card in, and it won't read properly.
Yeah.
And then just the nature of our job, if we get a camera really early, Leicas are kind of famous for this, the software is just like not finished. Especially they seem to be like, this is a Leica. We're going to focus on photography. We'll sort out the video firmware a little bit later. And then I have that to shoot an episode on. And sometimes it's pretty flaky. But that's more just the nature of my job specifically. I would say cameras have certainly gotten a lot more stable in recent years.
I do recall that Leica, they tend to freeze, and the only way to unfreeze them is to like rip the battery out,
pull the battery out,
and that does work. But
and then it resets all your camera settings, and you find out you've just been shooting JPEG all afternoon. Yeah,
admittedly, those issues are more related to our job than the consumer. Yeah.
Pre-production stuff. Yeah. The next is a speak pipe from the Irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard from the Irrelevant.
Jaron, Jordan, Chris, friends, countrymen, I require your assistance with JPEG XL. I listened to your podcast and I got really excited about making my entire library half the size and also exporting in 10-bit rather than 8-bit, if I understood that correctly. The plethora of photo programs I use to edit, including Luminar Neo, Capture One, DxO Photo Lab, I'm a monster. Affinity Photo 2. Out of all of those, Affinity Photo is the only one capable of exporting in JXL. So I just ran a full batch through there, exported them in JXL, and they won't open in Windows.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of this new format if none of the bigger photo editing programs use them? Love the podcast. Love you guys. Calgary forever. Goodbye.
Wow.
Calgary forever.
That's a great speak pipe. I was hoping that you would do the Shakespearean Roman accent the whole way through, but it was really good. Very good. I don't know. Yeah, JPEG XL. It's
early. It's early.
I mean, but it isn't even. It's like everybody else is just being really slow on it, and it is frustrating. And eventually there will be support. But yeah, it's just everybody's being so slow on it. Like Google's being slow on it, Windows is being slow on it.
And it's funny because Google is part of the development process of it. They've got like money invested in JXL and they're not doing anything with it.
Photoshop does support it.
Yeah. It's so similar to the C2PA situation here, where it's just like we need support for the program so people start using it, so there's demand for it on display, and we're just stuck at this loop where they're like, well, nobody's using JPEG XL, why would we support it natively in Windows? But then they're going to run into the same issue. Why would I export this if it's not natively supported on my browser? So yeah, it's weird.
So just
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's bad.
You're a pioneer on the Oregon Trail, and you're spearheading a wonderful future for most people, not all. And you might break a limb on the way or starve to death, who knows? But if you make it over the mountains, you're going to have a good time. It's going to be great. Don't worry. Free land for everybody.
What's the mountains in this metaphor?
When I'm king of the world. Square sensors and free land for everybody.
The next one's an email from Sean Eliason. Hi guys, I'm an amateur photographer. My day job is teaching. Low teacher pay makes me a photography bottom feeder with regards to my equipment. I honestly do not have the slightest problem with that, as it only requires me to be more deliberate with my choices. I have never felt like I have not been able to get the shot due to my gear. Although I don't suffer from camera gas, gear acquisition syndrome, I do suffer from photography adjacent computer gas. I cannot run Lightroom or any of its main competitors. I keep my old laptop running by using Linux, and I use a Digicam and Darktable. As much as I want to use Lightroom's bigger and better features, that's not really a problem either. What I really struggle with is my crappy budget displays and editing in colors. Is it the one barrier that I feel truly is holding me back? Do you have any budget-friendly suggestions? Sean, Jordan, I think this is queued up for you.
Well, I just got this lovely new Asus 27-inch here, but we're talking budget options, and that is this is $800 US. So still very affordable compared to the Apple Cinema display.
But expensive.
The specs are the same, basically. So I do think it's a very similar display for a lot less money. But I was doing a little bit of poking around, and actually you can get insanely good prices if you're willing to stick to 1080p displays. Especially because we're running Linux on there. It doesn't have to be like an Apple display or anything like that. But with a decent color gamut, looking at used stuff, I could find a good monitors for like, $80 to $120. It does seem very doable. It's just, if you're looking at brand new monitors, everything is 4K or it's a gaming monitor where you don't need that really fast refresh rate on it. So I would just avoid new altogether for photo editing, unless you want to get yourself a lovely Asus 27-inch display that's making me incredibly happy, but not a great budget choice. But God damn,
I feel like as far as 4K
monitor.
monitors with color accuracy goes, 800 is actually considered low.
Yeah. All the reviews I saw, it was like, very affordable in its class. But this is a tough one for me because I've only started looking at monitors in the last 2 weeks, essentially. So
that's why I said it was queued up for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the same boat.
Again, when I'm king of the world, teachers are going to get more pay because you have the most important job.
Land for everyone. Teachers more
and that
pay.
should happen.
Square sensors.
This is a good platform.
I went through the struggle. Now, again, I can't quite remember the model of my MSI monitor, but I actually got a gaming monitor.
They give them such easy names to remember on computer
it's terrible.
monitors.
It's like a GX275 or something. I mean, it only cost me Canadian dollars wise, is probably about $400. And this is the time of year when you can get some. You can get some really good deals right now. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. It's not a 4K monitor. It's like 2880, but at the same time, I don't feel I need 4K that much on a larger monitor because I can zoom in, right, when I'm editing photography. I wanted something for gaming that would have the high refresh rate, which is not a requirement, but it also did have an expanded color gamut, and I've been really pleased with editing on this monitor. It's been fantastic. So, there's options out there. This MSI, very good. Highly recommend it. It's been good for the money. It's been good.
Samsung also has a monitor that is low price. I think it's like $450, and it's not as nice as the one that Jordan has, obviously, because it's half the price.
This is what I was looking at initially. I messaged Jaron about that. Reviews seem... I wish I had the model number handy on here.
I'm going to read the next...
I'm pretty sure mine was in like a G274. I think you get them for like $350, $400 right now.
I'm going to read the next one, and while they're answering, I will go find that Samsung monitor number and mention it. So stay tuned, Sean. While we do that, Craig emailed, Hey, Jaron, Chris, and Jordan, calling from lovely Port
Coquitlam.
Coquitlam.
It's beautiful. Port Coquitlam.
It is gorgeous.
Yep. In preparation for a Mediterranean family vacation, which I'm sure we've missed because this is so far down on the list of technical notes, and I apologize, I was determined to purchase a new camera for myself, and after much research, I settled on the OM5. The size of it was a major factor, as we are exclusively a carry-on luggage family, and the OM5 fit that bill perfectly. Also, living on the Pacific wet coast, I really wanted a weather-sealed system, as Jordan shows it off. I purchased it and the 14-150 f4.5.6 on sale, which I used on my vacation, and while it was fine, I did find it to be a little slow, lens-wise.
Sure.
Yeah, for indoor shots, and quite frankly, not wide enough. Sure. I did, however, have my Pixel 8 Pro, which I use for the wide-angle stuff. Now that I'm back, I've been thinking about where I would like to go from here, and this is where you guys come in. I was originally thinking that I would use the OM5 for landscape travel and street photography and then purchase a full frame for sports, wildlife, and astro. Thus, I would keep the lens selection minimal for the OM5, maybe add a wider angle zoom, and invest in full frame glass when I eventually get a full frame camera. Or should I invest in micro four thirds fully? Like get fast glass, Pro Series f2.8 or f4, which series do you guys prefer? Lenses, and eventually add an OM1 to my arsenal for more involved photography needs. He doesn't get paid to take pictures, and in his order of operations, priorities are family, street, travel, landscape, sports, wildlife, and astro. I know, Chris, you shoot an OM1, but is that your go-to system for everything, or do you rock different systems for the situation? As Chelsea Northrup says, it's okay to be polycamerous, but I really
value.
If you three are ever in the Port
Coquitlam,
try it.
We got you.
Beers on me.
Sweet.
So I think the OM5 is a great travel camera. I would absolutely rock one for that very same purpose. In fact, I remember going to Hawaii the first time. I took the Panasonic GM5, which was super portable, and I loved it. And I got great photos with it. That was with a 12-32 little kit zoom lens, and it had great macro, and I loved it. So the OM5 is sexy. It's small, perfectly ideal for travel. I do shoot an OM1, but I do feel like Micro Four Thirds is definitely... It's more for certain applications than others. I mean, it wouldn't be my first Astro choice, obviously. Landscape, it's fine, but again, not my first choice. I like the OM1 because it's rugged. I like the fact that the lenses are compact, but still give me really good reach. And I'm mostly shooting video with it, which again, it's not its strong point, but I just know the camera will survive and be compact enough. So I don't know if I would heavily invest in Micro Four Thirds, but I would absolutely invest as a travel kit. An OM5 with like the 12-42.8, I think that would be a really nice kit. Maybe give you some of that wide angle back.
8-25.
What?
8-25.
Yeah, 8-25 is a great little affordable wide for that too. But like, you know, a 14 to a 12 to 40, that's a great general purpose lens. And your 14 to 150. I mean, for travel, I want something that's going to be on my hip, easy, not a lot of lenses to carry around. But for what you're doing, I think you'd find it perfectly fine.
See,
Till it comes to Astro.
See, I reached for that OM5 because the last time I used it was traveling, and I did the 8-25 and the 75 mil 1.8 prime, and I found that was like the perfect thing to handle. Anything else? Sports, you're definitely going to suffer a little bit with Micro Four Thirds. If you're doing a lot of that, that's where I'd probably take a look at the full frame.
I mean, wildlife, though, it's a great platform. I'd use it for wildlife happily.
Yeah.
I would, I mean, it's just the right situation. But the benefit really is it's very compact. And so for travel and stuff, yeah, stick with it. I think it's great.
I am now capable of answering Sean's question, and I have some really good news, Sean. The one that I recommend is the Samsung Viewfinity S7. They have a couple Viewfinity models. The highest end one's very expensive, but the S7, a 32-inch version of that is $250, and the 27-inch is $200.
Damn.
4K, good color. Highly recommend this as a budget option.
Yeah,
it's hard to beat that, and it is. They claim HDR10. No. You're not going to get it.
Don't look at the HDR specs.
You'll get like 400 to 402 nits of peak brightness. That's nowhere close to requirements for HDR. But, this is going to be a very affordable monitor. It's usually $400. It's on sale right now. So Samsung Viewfinity S7. All right. The next one is a question for me from Anthony. Hi, Jaron Schneider. I'm in the process of buying an OM System OM1 Mark II. What memory cards would you recommend me getting for this camera? There's so much choice. I can get a V60 or a V90, but V90 cards are almost double the price. Of V60 cards, 90% of my camera will be used for street photography, mostly shooting landscapes and some wildlife. He says still photography. I corrected that to street. But if you are shooting still, cool. I will be using my camera lens in harsh and cold conditions. I will tell you right now, your SD card does not care, no matter what. I was also wondering about Sony Tough Carbs and ProMaster rugged SD cards. I was wondering if it was unnecessary expense to purchase these rugged cards over regular cards, and which ones are the best. The cheapest rugged card I can find is a ProMaster V92 SD on Amazon. So I find it really funny. As an aside, you're not doing this, but a lot of people will do this. They'll buy an expensive camera, an expensive lens, an expensive computer, expensive monitors, and then cheap out on the SD cards and get the crappiest ones that are super inexpensive, as Chris raises his hand. To me, that is an interesting use of resources. What? That's a good card.
It's a good card. Delkin Advantage, 32
Delkin's
gig.
Great.
I think I got a twin pack for like $40. It was great.
So I will say that you are on the right track. You do not need V90. V90 is for video. A lot of the time, Jordan doesn't even need V90.
No.
But V60 is good. I have 3 cards that I recommend. You can get the Sony Tough card, which is 128 gigs. That is $62. You can get a ProGrade Digital V60 UHS-2 card, 128 gigs for $50. Or OWC has an Atlas Pro series of V60 cards that a 128 gig is $32. these are extremely reliable cards, all three of them. All three brands are very respectable, and all of them will allow you to get the most out of that camera.
I concur.
Don't buy
Jared gave me the OWC on the Idaho trip, the most demanding thing I've ever done, and it survived. So
OWC actually, I think if I was to recommend any company
They
right
make
now
good cards.
for memory at all, both on computer and in hand, I think they make the best stuff right now. But all three of these companies do great work, and I highly recommend them. And I do think spending $30 to $50 on an SD card is worth it. Chris. Last one. Yeah, you don't get to respond. Last one. This is an email from Adam. This year, I made a much-needed jump from DSLRs to mirrorless in search of a more enjoyable photographing experience. I have not been disappointed, especially since I upgraded from a Canon EOS 80D, which I love and will keep forever, and you should, and moved to Fujifilm. I own an X-T3 and an X Pro 3 both, and I noticed that even though the X Pro 3 was a year newer than the X-T3, the tracking focus mode is more advanced on the X-T3 versus the X Pro 3. Am I missing anything? Is it firmware? The X-T3 has a single focus point that smoothly follows what is being focused on, and the X Pro 3 does the older method of having multiple AF points bounce around the area you're focusing on. I can't find a setting to adjust this. I hope this message wasn't too wordy and explained the situation properly. Thank you and keep doing what you do. Sincerely, Adam, a proud PetaPixel membership subscriber. Yeah.
Yay, thank you.
Appreciate that.
I believe, so I was doing some digging. I think that the X Pro 3 did get the single point tracking through firmware. So it's a kind of an annoying process with Fujifilm, but I would double check
Update your
firmware
firmware
on that, because I was looking at that, and that was about a year and a half ago, I believe, added.
Do you think the X Pro 3 has been abandoned? Has Fujifilm just abandoned the X Pro 3? Yeah. Oh,
No.
sorry. Yes, the X Pro series.
I don't think so, but I feel like that the desire and like the expectations of buyers is to a certain point that Fujifilm is so scared that they're going to let them down that they have to make something that exceeds those expectations. And unfortunately, every time they do that, the expectations have grown. So they like, well, crap, we can't release it now. They go back and they try and do something else to it. I think we'll get it. I should have bold predicted this, that we'll get it next year. But I wouldn't even believe my own bold prediction if I said that.
I think they're just going to scale back so many of the decisions that they made on the X Pro 3. That was very controversial, like the reduced frame lines on the X Pro 3, the weird flippy screen that you could only see it if you were shooting waist level. All kinds of weird decisions were made there that were not very popular. So I would expect it'll be like an X Pro 2 with the a more conventional screen on it and the new 40 megapixel sensor. That's just why we're not doing bold predictions anymore.
We'll see.
I don't know, I'm wasting everyone's time.
The end the show story, the feel-good story of the week. The American Society of Media Photographers, their board, unanimously selected the Chief Legal Officer, Thomas Madry, to serve as their new CEO. None of you may know what any of that means, but I will now provide context.
Gibberish.
I'm lost.
Tom is probably our most reliable, most responsive, and best lawyer that we talk to when it comes to photographic questions. He is one of two PetaPixel experts that we turn to when we're like, what's going on here? Can you please look at this document, this terms and conditions of use, and tell us if this is an overreach or whatnot? We're not just sitting here thinking it's an overreach. We actually talk to real informed lawyers, and we've worked with Tom for years. Think he's great. And I just want to say congratulations, Tom, for being the CEO of ASMP. Great organization. You've done a lot for them, and I think you're going to keep leading them in a positive direction. So congratulations, Tom. I feel good about this. I hope you feel good about this, Tom, and everyone else who follows the ASMP. Great guy, super dude. Really proud of him.
Nice.
Sweet.
And that's it. That's the show.
We did
Next
a whole
week.
show?
Yeah,
Good
we
for
did a whole
us.
show. Yeah, I know.
You know
right?
what? I don't think we get enough praise for doing whole shows fairly regularly.
Barely.
And I think the length is perfect. The length is perfect.
That's going to do it this week. Next week, we're going to talk the PetaPixel Awards, so get excited for that.
Get your votes in,
And go
either
vote
for the PetaPixel Awards or for me to be king of the world, whichever
Yeah,
one you want.
Chris is king of the world.
Square.
Yeah,
Square.
All right, I think that's good.